Konnichiwa, everyone, and welcome to the weekly standings and predictions. As promised, I am officially going to be going over the updated standings for both the MLS and the MLB. And we got some news for the first time for this series. So let's start with the MLS first. There's- We got three teams officially in the playoffs for the Eastern Conference so far, with Philadelphia currently sitting on top with 64 points and 18 4 and 10 record. Montreal is currently the runner up at 59 points with a record of 18 9 and 5. And the Red Bulls are also in with 50 points. He's looking at a record of 14 10 and 8. Sorry if I blurred out there. Trying to be as professional as possible. And rounding out the home advantage teams. New York City are still trying to defend in what title they have at 49 points, looking at a 14, 11, and 7 record. Rounding out the top 7 is Orlando with 45 points at 13, 12, and 6, in which they have tiebreaker over Cincinnati, who also has 45 points, sitting at 11, 8, and 12. There's your key difference there. Those wins. Miami has tiebreaker clinching into the top 7 with 42 points, sitting at a 12, 13, and 6 record. They have tiebreaker over Columbus, who also has 42 points, and at a 9, 7, and 15 record. Atlanta United has 40 points, and currently ninth, sitting at 10, 12, and 10. Charlotte FC have have been doing pretty well so far. 38 points, having a tiebreaker over New England in that front with their 12, 17, and 2 record, er, whereas New England is at 9, 12, and 11. Officially eliminated are Chicago with 35 points at 9, 15, and 8. Toronto with 34 points at 9, 16, and 7. And then DC looking at the Tank Bowl with 27 points at 7, 19, and 6. Yikes. In the Western Conference, in Los Angeles FC has officially clinched in a top 4 seed with 64 points. Means at 28 and 4. Austin is also in the playoffs with 55 points at a 16, 9, and 7 record, followed by Dallas with 50 points, sitting at 13, 8, and 11. Rounding out the top 4 is Nashville with 47 points, teams with a record of 12, 9, and 11. The Galaxy are still in the top 7 with 46 points, having tiebreaker over Portland with a 13, 12, and 7 record, whereas Portland has 11, 8, and 13. Minnesota is what rounds out the top 7 with a 45 points and a 13, 13, and 6 record, which by today's standards would mean 500. On the outside looking in right now, our Salt Lake with 43 points means at 11, 11, and 10. Again, 500 record. Vancouver with 40 points at 11, 14, and 7. And Seattle, who currently has tiebreaker over the eliminated Colorado. So at a 12, 16, and 3 record. Speaking of Colorado, they're one of 4 eliminated teams in the Western Conference, sitting at 10, 13, and 9. followed by Kansas City at 37 points at 10, 15, and 7. Houston with 33 points at 9, 17, and 6. And San Jose with 31 points at 7, 15, and 10. Not looking so great right now. Let's take a look at the Major League Baseball standings. First up, the Yankees are in the playoffs at 94 and 58. They currently lead their division. The Cleveland Guardians have officially clinched the AL Central at 86 and 67 and are guaranteed a top three. Same thing with Houston, who are most likely guaranteed to be a top two seed at 101 and 53. In the East, both the Mets and the Braves are in at 97 and 57 and 95 and 58 respectively. Nobody has clinched for the Central, and in the West, the Dodgers have officially clinched the number one seed in the National League at 106 and 47. They're on pace to try to win more. They're looking for 116 plus. So let's take a look at the wild card race to see who's officially he's still in the race and who is officially out. Starting with the American League. Toronto, the Blue Jays currently lead the race for the wild card at 86 and 67. They're likely going to be out of the race for the National League East. Same with the Tampa Bay Rays, who are 84 and 69, clinging on to wild card number two. And then there is Seattle, who are currently starting to implode right now at 83 and 69, and half game behind the Rays. Currently on the outside looking in are the Orioles at 79 and 73. They can still bounce back. The Chicago White Sox at 76 and 77. And apparently the Minnesota Twins are somehow still in it. However, they can be eliminated as early as today. They at 74 and 79. Officially eliminated from the American League, sorry, are the Boston Red Sox at 72 and 80. The Los Angeles Angels at 67 and 86. I know Boston can still possibly try to win the American League, but in terms of wild cards, you might as well eliminate them from playoffs. The Texas Rangers are eliminated at 65 and 87. The Kansas City Royals at 63 and 90. The Detroit Tigers at 60 and 92. And the Oakland Athletics sitting at the bottom at 56 and 97. Looking the wild card race is and also the Central Division for the National League. St. Louis Cardinals currently hold the top spot at 89 and 65. The winner of that division is on pace to be the only team in as of now. However, that can still change. And with the Braves currently sitting at the top of the wild card with Mets leading the division. Padres are looking to try to get into the wild card spot at 85 and 68, followed by the Phillies at 83 and 69. They're trying to be impressive. On the outside looking in are the Milwaukee Brewers at 82 and 71 and the San Francisco Giants at 75 and 78. They are the only two teams that have a shot at wild card. Officially eliminated are the Arizona Diamondbacks at 71 and 83, the Chicago Cubs at 67 and 86, Colorado Rockies at 65 and 88, the Miami Marlins at 63 and 90, the Cincinnati Reds at 60 and 93, Pittsburgh Pirates at 56 and 97, And then the Washington Nationals at 53 and 99. With that out of the way, it's time to get into some basketball news. The first one we have here that's been known for a few days now is that the owner of the Phoenix Suns Mercury is going to be selling them and following a scandal revolving around the use of the N word. Were based on reports, owner Robert Sarver has tried to provide an apology that not many believe he's actually apologized for, claiming to be a man of faith or something. And but he was suspended by the NBA over workplace misconduct policies already. And he figured why stick around and decided to start the process of selling both teams. It's possible they'll both be under the same ownership, and it's also possible they'll be under different ownerships. But this came out after he had apparently said the N word for a bunch of times, which in today's climate is a big no no. And that is what's going to get you in trouble. In fact, I'm probably not going to be able to get this this out of age restriction and just for saying it, or at least mentioning that part. But there are other news in basketball. Well, as Celtics coach Ime Udoka has been suspended for quote multiple policy violations. He's been suspended through June 30th, 2023. Meaning if the Celtics don't make it to the finals, there's a chance he can't coach. This was following a months long investigation by an outside law firm that found multiple violations of team policies but did not point to a larger cultural problem of sexual misconduct. No one else is facing discipline, but this is the news. The Celtics are going to be without the man that led them to the NBA Finals, which is going to be some interesting year for the Celtics, if I'm being honest. We're definitely gonna keep track of basketball as that season officially starts and progresses. There is no news for the NHL as the preseason is officially underway, and there's not much for me to talk about in regards to hockey just yet. At, aside from official predictions, which I am going to start delivering in next week's installment for both the NBA and the NHL for who's going to win their respective divisions, as well as who rounds out the top four in each, or at least the top three. Try to predict wild card. Who cares? But anyways, now on to the NFL. And oh boy, this has been a wild week so far. Still got Monday Night Football coming up. I still got Dallas in that one. But I am amazed at how many games I got wrong. This was a bad week. So I'm hoping to try to rebound here. Starting with Thursday Night Football, Dolphins versus Bengals. Overall, the Dolphins look like the better team here. So I'm going to take Miami over Cincinnati. It's amazing that they were able to upset the Bills, and I think they maintain on top of the division for another week. The Chargers versus the Texans to start out the early stretch on CBS. This is gonna be a crapshoot, mainly because they're both coming off of losses. The Texans are winless right now, and the Chargers, well, they couldn't beat Jacksonville. So playing against the Texans is going to be tough, and considering what other matchups there's going to be, I'm going to declare this my tie of the week. The Chargers tie against the Houston Texans, and they get nothing good in the world. The end. But now I'm going to backtrack a little bit to the 9:30 a.m. slot because what's going to be going on the NFL Network and what would be about 2:30 p.m. in London, I think. It's going to be the Vikings versus the Saints. And the Vikings have looked pretty well, and despite this being somewhat prime time based, the Saints haven't done all that well. Famous Jameis decided to open his turnover bakery again. So I think this is going to be the Vikings game to lose. Ooh, Kirk Cousins get it done on another continent, and we all celebrate the Saints not being helpful without Sean Payton. Going back to the 1 p.m. on CBS, we have Browns versus the Falcons. Two polar opposite teams going at each other. The Browns have been an impressive team so far, believe it or not. And the Falcons are actually coming off of a victory of their own in what was a tank bowl, pretty much, uh, which is what surprises me. However, I think that the Browns pull away in this one. I still do not trust the Falcons to get anything done outside of blowing leads. That's just me. So I'm gonna have to take the Browns in this situation. And next up, we have the Bills versus the Ravens. This is gonna be a tough matchup for sure. But the Ravens have had some inconsistent moments, if I'm being honest. Is they still have problems with the offense. Defense, while better, is still having issues. Losing all that stuff going on. I'm gonna have to take Bills since they're the better team in this matchup. That's just truth. We got the Jaguars versus the Eagles next. This is in Philadelphia, which that alone is a hard place to play in itself. The Jaguars have done surprisingly well on top of the AFC South now at 2-1. But here's the problem. They played against a Chargers squad as well as a Colts squad they've been known to beat at home. So there's some asterisks there. And as for the Eagles, yeah, they beat up against the Lions but allowed a comeback. Uh, they beat Kirk Cousins in prime time. Yeah, I know. But the Vikings have been rebounding as of late. They and they also had to deal with the Commanders. However, that's where I give it to the Eagles going 4-0. Simply put, they're just the better team out of the matchups. Yes, I know the Jazz could possibly win this, but the last time they played was in London, and the Eagles won that game pretty much. And I don't see the Jags winning against is the Eagles in Philadelphia. I just don't. The Jets versus the Steelers. Oh man, here we go. We were talking about Tank Bowls. Here's one for you. Jets versus Steelers. Matt Canada offense. Not that great. Hey, don't get bailed out by high end talent again. Mr. Biscuit is probably still going to be starting. Don't make Joe Flacco look elite again. Yes, Joe Flacco. So this screams actually breaking rules. It really does scream breaking rules. And you know what? I'm gonna do it. Predict there's gonna be two ties in the same week. I'm going bold here. There's gonna be two ties this week. Both in the AFC. I'm gonna do it. And I don't care. There, now let's back up to the Fox stretch where we got the Bears against the Giants. Both teams have had asterisks in their own right. The Giants were starting out 2-0 against the Panthers and the Titans. And the Bears were winning against the 49ers in a slippery soldier field and also winning against the Houston Texans in a close one. So it's going to be hard to say just how well these two teams will play against each other. It could potentially be a tank bowl. I think that Justin Fields is the better quarterback than Daniel Jones, and I think that'll be what decides the game. I'll take the Bears over the Giants. Seahawks versus the Lions. I'm actually gonna take the Lions in this situation. As much as the Seahawks can say they're somewhat good, they're coming off a loss to the Falcons, and they're in the tank ball race right now. The Lions, on the other hand, seem to be turning things around with Dan Campbell coaching. Yes, they got Jared Goff at QB, but he's still been doing good, believe it or not. There are things to like about this team. Even the fact that they're the better team in general, actually able to do stuff with the ball. I'm gonna have to take the Lions. And I know, crazy, but that's just what I'm gonna have to do. Next, we have the Titans and the Colts. Yep, this one's gonna be a tank ball for sure. The Titans and the Colts are coming off impressive wins, though. So that's gonna be what makes this tough. And knowing how this division tends to be, I'm taking the Colts. Sorry, Titans, you don't have AJ Brown still. He's been balling out in his own. Malik Willis still needs time to develop. You stop Derrick Henry, you stop the entire offense. And what weapons are there for you to throw to that's not Derrick Henry? That has been a problem, and it's starting to show. So, in a nail biter that is ugly, I'm taking the Colts. The Commanders versus the Cowboys. I think Dallas is going to be the one that takes this. I know, shocker, but look, it's the Commanders. They can have nothing good. And another thing about this, there's more there's better playmakers on the Cowboys than there are against the Commanders. I think they lost some people for the year, some for not short enough time for a comeback. Yeah, there are gonna be some things here that need to be addressed. Now that we're done with the early games, we can move on to the late games. starting with the late game on Fox, the sole late game on Fox. Cardinals versus Panthers. We take a look at the history of the matchups between these two teams. Believe it or not, uh, the Panthers have been beating the Cardinals a lot. Yeah, they the Panthers have won on the past one, two, three, four, five, past six matchups. So Panthers have the record on their side, and the Cardinals live and die by Cliff Kingsbury's play calling. In fact, they both live and die by the play calling. But one of these teams need to win. And there's just two main factors going the Panthers' way. Pick against them. So I'm gonna have to take the Panthers in this situation. Although it's possible I may switch to the Cardinals before the game is officially played. So keep that in mind. And when I say that I'm going with the Panthers, it is close and possible that I can change my mind at the last possible minute. The Denver Broncos versus the Las Vegas Raiders. Oh boy, this is a battle of inept play calling here. This is definitely gonna be garbage. And given how both teams have played, the Raiders, I'm going with the favorites here in terms of the team and say the Raiders are finally going to win their first game of the year against Russell Wilson and the Broncos. High and ba- sorry, high end talent can't bail you out forever, dude. It's just truth. Now we got the Patriots going up against the Packers. I'm gonna take Green Bay in this situation. The Patriots have been known as of late to play some ugly football. Mac Jones has been regressing. The Packers are getting better after an impressive statement win against the Bucks. And yeah, that brings us to Sunday Night Football: Chiefs versus Bucks. Look, this game can go either way. I'm gonna take the Chiefs in this situation, and they still have the offensive line to pull it off. They still got the weapons to pull it off. As of now the Bucks got Julio Jones, but yes, Mike Evans is returning after a one-game suspension. But at the same time, Chiefs still got Travis Kelsey, and they've been having some sorry, solid options in Juju, two for one, and definitely some others. And that defense still has some playmakers. So I'm taking the Chiefs. Go with 3-1 to start the year. And finally, we have Monday Night Football between the Rams and the 49ers. Oh boy. Last time these two teams met, it was close, competitive, but here's the main thing that separates these two. The Rams are coming off a big win against a division rival, whereas the 49ers are coming off an ugly loss where they only scored a touchdown and a field goal. And despite what people say, I feel like the difference in how they're able to score points, it's gonna be the factor that leads to the Rams winning and going 3-1 to start the year. Again, a lot of these can flip. I may finally decide to pick a winner between these 2 or a winner between these 2. Again, this here may flip. Uh, Anything can happen in the world of football. But for now, that's where I stand. And feel free to let me know what your picks are. And as always, I'll see you on the next video.